This is Morning at NTV, and my name is Romeo Busiku, and we are going to be taking a look at some of the events that have been brewing in the religious circles, and I'm talking about the enthronement of the Right Reverend Samuel Stevens Kazimba Mugalu, Right Reverend Bishop, that is Samuel Stevens Mugalu. Well, born in Gulama, Naja Chagwe, that is the Right Reverend Bishop Samuel Stevens Kazimba Mugalu is set to succeed Archbishop Stanley Ntagali, who retires in March 2020. That is fast, to be exact, March 1st. As the Anglican Church and the rest of the nation prepares for the enthronement this week, what should we expect from the incoming bishop's tenure? For more on this, we have Honorable Ruth Nankabure, the government chief whip, but she's not going to be talking to us in that capacity. She'll be talking to us as a religious person herself who has been involved in this process. Many thanks for joining us on Morning at NTV.
You're welcome.
Yes, we are really, really glad. Now, tell us more about this enthronement. I do understand that you've actually managed to get some 1.7 billion Uganda shillings for this enthronement. Isn't it a little bit too much? Help us break down what this money is going to be doing.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm happy to be here this morning, not as the government chief whip, but as the chairperson of the Enthronement and Farewell Committee.
Amazing.
Enthronement of the 9th Archbishop of Church of Uganda, and bidding farewell to the 8th Archbishop, Stanley Ntagali. And I'm working with a team of good Ugandans who have been able to put in what they have, their efforts and their money and everything in kind. Deputized by General Katumba Wamala. General Katumba Wamala comes from Mukono, and the 9th Archbishop who is going to be enthroned is coming from Mukono also.
I'm surprised.
But he's been serving as the Bishop of Mityana Diocese, which is my diocese.
Do you know Katumba Wamala? I'm very, very surprised. Just like the president over the weekend during the final Tarehe Sita celebrations, the Thanksgiving actually, they called him and it was like, I'm also surprised the UPDF is as religious as it is. I thought it was only the Bakafiri.
No. They
that got me laughing. But then here you are, very, very religious. General Katumba Wamala too.
Yes.
Please continue.
We have been working, and basically we came up with a budget. It sounds big, but when you get to know the items they are under, you'll appreciate. One item that costs like 500 million shillings is the car for the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda. We are supposed to provide that car. And actually there are two cars. We needed also a pickup. Secondly, the palace itself had to be renovated. Where
Mr. Ntagali was living?
Yes, it had to be renovated. And these are things that will stay on. We have renovated it. It's fresh, it's new. And we are ready to welcome the Archbishop tomorrow at the residence. Then the seats, you know, when you got photogenics, you know how much it costs to host like 10,000 people. So you have to cough like more than 50 millions. Those are big items. We are going to feed the people. And we are going to have many dinners. Tomorrow we are having a welcome dinner, a welcome lunch. On the 29th, we are going to have another pre-installation dinner with about 120 guests who are coming from abroad. And those guests are supposed to be accommodated. They're supposed to be fed. They are going to stay in hotels. So that's another big item. And then at the D-Day on the 1st of March, we are going to serve people. So, and meals also cost money. So money 1.7 billion may appear big, but when you break it down, you find that it's a modest budget for this kind of function. Installation of the Archbishop in Church of Uganda is almost the biggest function because the Archbishop is the fountain of Church of Uganda. It's the highest seat, and the process of his installation is not a simple one. So we people from Church of Uganda, we take this function as a very, very big function. And when you come to church right now, because the function is going to take place at the cathedral, and this is according to the constitution the Church of Uganda follows. Installation or enthronement of the Archbishop has to be done in the cathedral, inside the cathedral, which is Namirembe. So when you come there right now, you will be able to see the kind of work that people are doing on site as I speak.
We shall be able to see the work that people are doing, but now let's focus on the work the incoming Right Reverend Bishop Stevens Mugalu will be doing. What should we expect from the tenure of the incoming Archbishop?
Oh, that is going to be included in his charge. I cannot, I don't have access, but since he has been my bishop for Mityana Diocese, I expect him to continue from where the Archbishop Ntagali has left. First of all, he is a builder, like his name goes. He's a builder, and he preaches business evangelism. He wants church to get involved in activities that bring people together and that bring income to the church. Because we have projects in the church, there are children we take care of, and the servants, the reverends, the canonists must get involved in all this kind of stuff. How the accommodation in the dioceses, everything has to change. This is what he did in Mukono when he came to Mityana Diocese. It's what he did. Everywhere we are building. Both commercial buildings and residential buildings in the archdeaconry. So I expect him to pull every effort, to pull everybody because he believes that all of us have got a talent, have got something to contribute to the development of the country. So I expect him to do that. I expect him to lay emphasis on our schools, Church of Uganda founded schools, because this is what he has been doing in our diocese. So I don't see him abandoning his journey. And he is pressing on to really show cause to why Jesus died for us.
The former Archbishop Stalin Tagali has been so hard on President Museveni for him to retire and leave politics for the young generation. Do you think the incoming Right Reverend Bishop Stephen Mugalu will also take the same approach, or are we going to be seeing something different?
That hasn't been part of his program to advise people who are elected to serve, to live, because these are elective offices. I am not seeing him going that way.
And in your opinion, do you think religious leaders have a say in the politics of this country, or should they just focus on the sheep in the church or the mosques?
Politics is very wide. Yeah, politics is a wide topic. Even in church, there is politics. In church politics. But before you point a finger to somebody, you have to look at yourself. It is in the Bible. You have to remove what is in your eye before you look at what is in the eye of your neighbor.
What is lacking in the religious circles that would impede them from actually criticizing the government?
Pardon?
Like you said, we should first peruse and look at ourselves before judging the other side. So what is lacking within the religious circles that would impede them from actually criticizing the government, hopefully?
Well, like I told you, that there is politics everywhere. And for the religious leaders, the way we look at them, it's as if they are not supposed to make any mistake, but they are human also. But when they come out to politicize, and yet there is a lot that is happening in their circles, then it leaves the followers, confused. Okay? And secondly, unlike in politics where we have political parties, that I belong to this. For example, if I can take my religion, I see my leader as somebody who is serving all of us equally. Okay? Yet in politics, if you are not my party, you are not my party, you are not following my manifesto. So they are not supposed to be partisan, because you may send away people from church
who are from different political denominations.
Yes, you may send them away. But here, we've been seeing people crossing from NRM to whatever party, from the other party to this party, and life continues. We go on. But in a church, divisions are not. The church is not supposed to entertain that. But they're supposed to pull us, all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Electoral Commission has recently come out to actually emphasize the religious leaders to come out strongly to preach against violence ahead of the 2021 elections. How prepared is the Anglican Church to take on this mantle?
Apart from preaching, the church, the role of the church.
First of all, did you heed to the call?
The role of church is to pray and pray and pray for peace. There is no single time that we expect church to keep quiet. We all need peace. People went to the bush to bring peace. Others didn't come out of the bush. Even religious leaders, by the way, some of them were supporting. The late Cardinal Nsubuga was a great friend of Wanu Museveni, who was in the bush. It came out to be known, and it is even written about. So even religious leaders sometimes come out to fight for peace. But praying for peace and human rights, observance of human rights, is something that everybody has to focus on.
In your opinion, do you think praying for peace is the only mechanism that we can employ in the interim to avert danger or violence ahead of the 2021 elections?
If we are talking about religious leaders.
No, if we are talking about peace in general, because one of the mechanisms was to first pray for peace. But do you think
that is on the
peace,
side?
Yes. Do you think peace
now,
is
when you
enough?
cross over to our side with the implementers, we have to make sure that we observe the laws. We have put down a legal infrastructure which we have to follow. So we have to make sure that we implementers implement the laws, and we the beneficiaries that observe the laws. So praying, yes, but the leaders whom God chose to be members of parliament, to be local members of local governments, have come up with laws, bylaws, which must be observed. Yeah.
And do you think the local religious act is working against religious leaders, or do you think it's called for?
The local religious?
The law governing religious bodies that government is proposing. Do you remember the law that it would compel religious leaders to go through theological training? Do you think it's working against religious leaders, or do you think it's called for to train our leaders?
It is very, very called for, and it has not come out of the blue. We make laws after identifying that there are gaps, and then to bridge the gaps, you create guidelines, and those guidelines are enshrined in the laws that we make, because we are seeing all sorts of religious leaders. Everybody can be a religious leader, but with no guidance. Okay, we are seeing so many fleecing people.
Give us those examples.
I will not.
Not names, but examples.
I will not, but we are seeing them. Fleecing people, okay? Fleecing people. So we need to help and guide. And I think that guidance can come from setting up a law which will guide them. Yes.
Well, some religious leaders believe this law is meant to rein in on some religious leaders who are actually so politically active, like the former Archbishop Mr. Ntagali, who has been so vocal against the president. So they believe this law is just
where do you get that one from? Bishop Ntagali is friends with the President Museveni. Okay, and I've seen it myself, and I don't call Archbishop Ntagali as somebody who has been against against the government. They pray for us. They pray for religious leaders, you know. So this law is targeting religious institutions which have come up, for example, to violate children's rights. If you preached and you said that you should not go take your children for immunization, okay, for example, a religious leader praying and asking his congregation not to take their children to school, for example. I mean, we cannot look on when such things are happening. Don't take your children for immunization. Don't go to school.
But Ms. Ambonye denied all those accusations.
I have not mentioned any name. I have not mentioned any name. But I have seen groups, you know, of religious establishments preaching against such, you know, important programs. And we can't just look on.
Don't you think this law is just meant to indoctrinate and change the
Why?
mindsets of these leaders?
Why? Why should I think so? Why?
Because they've become so engrossed in politics in Uganda.
And what will they do?
Religious leaders should be sidelined.
And what will they do? You know? All those problems were solved. Okay? The fact that we were able to gather Ugandans to come up with their own constitution. And I'm proud to say that I'm one of those who promulgated the 1995 Constitution of Uganda. The political roadmap was set. For example, as I speak now, people know when the next election will take place, when they are the next one and the other one until I don't know, because we know that we are following a 5-year term period. We know that. And I don't think we will be able to really go back to those black days where people were scared of even coming out of their homes. So we have managed to bring together religious institutions. Uganda Joint Christian Council brings Uganda Joint Christian Council brings, you know, people from different denominations, okay, to come together.
Lusindana's group.
Yes. Then at functions, at big functions, when time for praying comes, you see the top religious leaders who are present coming out to pray together. It used not to be like that. No. Even within one religion, for example, the Muslims, the kind of division that they had at that time, and I know what President Museveni has done to unite the Muslims. And I know what the late Mufti Luwemba did to make sure that, you know, the Muslims are together. So we are preaching togetherness, you know. So I don't expect us again to divide ourselves. Yes.
Why has government left this fight for peace to religious leaders?
Fighting for peace is not left for religious leaders.
It's like you've abandoned it and just left it to religious leaders to
where
handle the
do you
situation.
stay?
It's like the Electoral Commission came out yesterday and said
Where do
we
you
would like to
stay?
emphasize religious leaders to continue praying for the country. But in the interim, government itself, what are they doing on their own to ensure that they expedite activities that would facilitate a peaceful electoral process ahead of 2021?
Let me tell you, we have trained people who will make sure that they will handle the elections. We always do so. We always do so. Our forces are on the ground. We cannot leave it to the religious leaders to kneel down and pray when we are not doing anything. Peace and security is one area where we have invested a great deal. A great deal. And our forces are not only looking at Uganda, but we are looking at the neighborhood as well. And we are trying to help. That's why we are in Somalia, because Somalia was affecting us through Kenya into here. So we have been coming out to help establish peace in the region, not only in the country.
The reason why I talked about...
And we are set.
Yeah.
We are set. And if anybody thinks about disorganizing us in that way, we'll have to be advised to think about something else.
I'll buy your idea, but the reason I brought it up, why the government has left the fight to the religious leaders, is because...
That is a wrong... that is a false statement.
It's because the budget for the Electoral Commission was slashed and they were left with a deficit of 198 billion. This money was meant for voter education, acquisition of a transmission system, to also help with the payment of the field officers at the parish and sub-county level to go ahead with this voter education, through which they would also be disseminating information about peace. So in the absence of this money, that's why I was like, has government left the fight to the religious leaders? And
no, please. And slashing of budget is not new. This is the order of the day. You come up with your wish list, and then we have to right-size the budget.
But as it is right now, Ms. Ruthna and Kabira, people are not being trained because the budget was slashed.
They have to train them using the budget that they have been given. Yes. We have other things to do.
That's what they say, that they have other things to do, and
yes,
they will not be able to train.
We do. Tell me, those developing countries, how many times do they go for elections? You know, China, what? How many times do they go for elections? Okay? People have been trained, they will be trained, but we have other things to do. Now, the coronavirus has come in.
It hasn't touched down in Uganda?
Ebola. Yeah? It hasn't?
It hasn't touched down in Uganda.
So you have to wait for it to touch down in Uganda?
We've been telling...
And then you get prepared?
Well, that's what you did with the locusts.
Then the locusts found us prepared. Yes. We were tracking them. We were tracking them.
Got an aircraft over the weekend. But let's focus.
Except that you don't walk to a supermarket to get an aircraft. You don't. If we were to walk in the supermarket to get an aircraft, we would have gotten it. I mean, you have to reach out. There are guidelines which govern that area. But we were expecting, and we kept on the ground. Yes. So we will do everything we can within the available money. Yeah, within the available money. And slashing of the budget is not only for the Electoral Commission. I remember in 2003, when Joseph Kony was hitting us, I was the Minister of State for Defense then. We had to slash budget across by 23% in order for us to buy the equipment that we wanted. And when we did that, we finished with Joseph Kony. Okay. So slashing of the budget comes every time, but people should learn to work within the monies that they've been given, and they must stop lamenting.
Indeed. Okay, we have 2 minutes left for to the end of this interview. I would like you to just acquaint us with what will be happening on March 1st with regards to the program of the enthronement of the Right Reverend Bishop Stephen Mugalu, and then we wrap up the show.
First of all,
the program for that day.
What will happen tomorrow is that the Archbishop-elect is coming and will be received at Nakulavie. And then we shall go to the church and have a service there, and then we have lunch at the residence. What will happen on the 29th is the dinner for the bishops and for the guests from abroad. What will happen on the 1st, I would like to call upon people who are going to attend to really keep time. By 8, we shall be beginning the service. And we are going to check people, we are going to wash hands, we are going to do a lot of things which will take time. So I expect people to come in good time. And thereafter, we shall host them for lunch on the 1st.
When Mr. Ntagali, the former Archbishop, finally retires.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And he will be exactly 65 years old.
65 years old.
Yes.
Any parting words with regards to peace in the country?
Thank you so much. We are the peacemakers. we are the custodians of the peace. Let us keep peace. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ruth Nankabirwa, the government chief
welcome.
whip. She's been very kind to make time to speak to us right here on Morning at NTV. We've been talking about the enthronement of the Right Reverend Bishop, that is Stephen Mugalu. He's incoming. He will be actually elevated to the post when the former Archbishop Stanley Ntagali actually retires on March 1st, 2020. But preparations are already in high gear, like the replenishing of the residence where the former Archbishop was living for the new incoming Archbishop, and the acquisition of a new vehicle worth 500 million shillings. Yes, so the 1.7 billion Uganda shillings, according to Ms. Ruth Nankabirwa, is very, very called for. This is Morning at NTV. Let's take a very short breather. We'll be right back with more information. Keep it here.